Professor, what exactly is sampling? Is it a legal term?
It is not a legal term, but it is a term that is used ubiquitously in the industry. So sampling refers to using a clip of sound from the actual recording. So you could imagine somebody going into the studio and recreating the sound from an earlier recording from scratch. And it could sound indistinguishable to a listener, which is the original and which is the copy. That would not be sampling.
Oh, fascinating.
Despite that similarity in sound. If we're talking about sampling, we're talking about using the actual recording and putting it into a new recording.
An example of that, might be It's a Hard Knock Life. The Jay-Z song where they're pulling from the musical Annie.
Yeah, and I don't know off the top of my head whether that was actually sampling as opposed to the sort of recreation in the studio. Right, this is another area where experts play a large role, like trying to decipher whether something like actually bit for bit was from the underlying recording as opposed to being recreated in the studio. But yes, that Jay-Z song, Hard Knock Life, if they were using the actual recording from the musical, from Annie, then that would be a sample.
And generally speaking, artists pay to do sampling, but is sampling ever legal? Is it ever legal and free?
So as a practical matter, if we are talking about commercially released music, these things are licensed. They are paid for. For anybody who would like to test the waters, there's a circuit split on the question of whether a sample could be so minuscule, right? Whether there's a de minimis exception to sampling, right? If it's a second, less than a second, right? Do you really need to clear the rights for that? The Sixth Circuit in Nashville said there is no de minimis floor for sampling. The Ninth Circuit afterwards said, yes, there is. And whether you're in the Sixth Circuit or the Ninth Circuit, you could always argue fair use. Right, that's not a concept that has come up yet, but there is this all-purpose defense under copyright law that is a multi-factor balancing test where you can argue, yes, these two works are similar, but I was allowed to copy in this instance because my use was a fair use. So you can make that argument. That's not foreclosed in any circuit, but it's unpredictable enough that as a practical matter, everybody licenses the samples that they use if we are talking about commercially released popular music.
And are these custom license agreements? Is there a default, a standard pricing for sampling?
It's bespoke. It's going to depend a lot on who you are sampling and how long the clip is. If you are taking Led Zeppelin and making it the backbone of your song, that is going to cost a lot of money. If you are sampling a relatively unknown artist and it's only going to come up in a out-of-the-way spot in your recording, that's going to be much more affordable. So there's no set rate for this kind of usage.
So if I was an amateur trombone player and a famous artist wanted to use my YouTube video of myself playing the trombone, they'd probably pay me as little as they could.
Yeah, it's just all a function of leverage there. They should pay you. But if they could always go find somebody else if you're asking too much.
Right. I think when we were chatting, you mentioned some examples that, these sampling arrangements can be incredibly expensive, and take up, a big part of the upside of the individual song.
Yeah, it's very possible. Again, and I'm thinking of some of the hip hop songs from like the late '90s, like Puff Daddy, where you had sort of like a trophy piece of a very recognizable sample that was very prominently included.
Which song are you talking about?
The tribute after Notorious B.I.G. was killed relied heavily on Every Breath You Take. The bass line from that.
Words can't express what you mean to me. Even though you're gone, we still a team. Through your family, I'll fulfill your dreams. In the future, can't wait to see if you open up the gates for me. Reminisce sometime. The night they took my friend. Try to black it out, but it plays again. When it's real, feeling's hard to conceal. Can't imagine all the pain I feel. Give anything to hear half your breath. I know you're still living your life after death. Every move I make, every single day, every time I pray, I'll be missing you.
Those would be, yes, quite high. You can also see, even if we're not talking about sampling, to go back to the musical composition side that we were talking about before, some of those command huge premiums where the songwriter wants to clear the rights in advance. So one thing that was being reported, Ariana Grande used "These Are a Few of My Favorite Things" as the whole framework for a song. And that, what was being reported, and again, I don't have any inside information, but what was being reported there was that she was sharing 90% of the publishing revenue.
Wow.
To Rodgers and Hammerstein, or whoever controls the rights there. So, I mean, that if you have an iconic enough song, and you have somebody who does not want to litigate over it, right? You could have a lot of money being paid for the rights.